I'm the 5-Minute Professor, and we have one last Christmas-themed lecture here on the YouTube page for the 5-Minute Professor, and this is a special favor to my buddy Bob. Bob does all the real work on the YouTube channel. All I do is talk, but he does all the editing, he makes all the thumbnails, and he posted something on his Facebook page, which I think is pretty funny. And the post is, "Don't mess with Americans, because we will cross frozen rivers and we will kill you in your sleep. We've done it." And that, of course, references the Battle of Trenton, which happened December 26th, 1776, which meant that the march to get there happened after sundown on Christmas Day, 1776. This is where Washington famously crossed the Delaware. It took 2,400 troops and crossed an almost frozen river. And it was sleeting and snowing, and the conditions were terrible, so terrible, in fact, that we had 2 casualties in the 9-mile march. Marching for 9 miles, 2 people died of exposure. They didn't have boots. They didn't have shoes. They wrapped rags around their feet, and the blood from their feet turned the path that they were walking, the roads they were walking along, red. It was not good. The situation was actually terrible for the Continental Army in 1776. We look back and say 1776 is the birth of our nation. We declared our independence. But the truth is that for the Continental Army, it was a terrible year. Now, they claimed victory in Boston because the British left. And they were just more or less being pestered. They weren't beaten. There was no battle that they won. They just had some good strategic high ground outside of town, and decided it would be better to leave and then come back. So Evacuation Day, which is St. Patrick's Day, 17th of March, celebrated in the city of Boston. But that's our one victory in 1776, and we didn't win. The British just left. We were crushed in New York, just crushed. British came in, and we just wilted in front of them, escaped back into New Jersey, chased through New Jersey, chased into Pennsylvania. And because the weather was so terrible, the expectation was, well, we got nothing else, for a couple of months now, because the weather's terrible. You can't really move people around. So the Hessians in Trenton were pretty confident that there was not going to be any serious action. They expected some pestering, but that was it. So on Christmas Day, General Washington decides to take 2,400 people across the Delaware. The famous painting, The Crossing of the Delaware, is depicted on the back of the New Jersey State Quarter. It's the only state quarter with 2 future presidents of the United States on it. George Washington standing up in the boat, and Lieutenant Monroe. Lieutenant Monroe would go on to become James Monroe, President of the United States, but he almost died in Trenton. And we had no casualties in the battle. Well, no one died in the battle, but we did have 5 casualties. 5 people were wounded, most severely, Lieutenant James Monroe. But the Hessians had it bad. And the Hessians weren't drunk. I remember hearing that story when I was a kid. They said it was Christmas, so the Germans got drunk, and then they were attacked the next morning. The fact of the matter was that they simply hadn't done a good job of defending a small town. Trenton was a small town. It had about 100 houses in it. They had just done a bad job of defending it because they did not expect that the Continentals would come. They fought. They got up, they got into positions, and they fought. They were just in bad position because the Continentals were where they should have been to try and defend themselves. Bottom line, a big win for the Continentals. A lot of people that were in the Continental Army extended their stay with the Army because now they had a victory. More people were able to be recruited in, and they captured everything that the Hessians had. They captured food. They captured drink. They captured bedding. They captured shoes. They captured boots. It was a big deal victory for George Washington, and it allowed 1776 to end on a high note. Perceptum, quispium, damnatio. Learn something, damn it.